Hello, my name is Grian, and today I want to show you how to make a house on stilts that's in the water. This compact design is a really simple one that's perfect for starter houses, and if we extend it, we can make a little village as well. Building a house on the water is pretty cool because you're protected from most monsters as long as you light it up. So, let's get straight into it. So you can see into the ocean there, which is not normal. We're going to need lots of log blocks because we're going to make a framework that extends all the way from the bottom. We're going to be making the foundation for our platform here, and each pillar has 3 blocks in between them, and it's important to remain consistent. You need to make it as big as you want your platform to be, but what I've built here is a pretty good starting point. Above the water, we want to raise up our main platform where the house is going to be by 3 blocks, leaving the others just at the surface level, which is where we're going to be able to enter it from. Now we've got some framework, we need to make the actual platform itself. I'm using dark oak, but this is quite flexible on the type of colours that you can use. So we need to make sure we put a block on top of our pillars and then a upside down staircase to fill in those 3 blocks in between them. This helps give it some shape and make sure that it's not a completely flat surface. Underneath, I've added just a layer of slabs to try and give it a bit more rigid structure to it, so it looks like it's really going to hold strong. These are just details that will not affect the way that the build is used, but helps in the way that it looks. Next is to just fill in the platform itself, giving us a level playing field to be able to build our house on. On the bottom, I'm going to raise up 4 of those pillars up just 1 block because we're going to have a staircase that works its way round. We then use the staircases to do exactly the same to complete the platform that we made on the other one. As you can see, we've got a couple of pillars at the water level that we need to fill in with some slabs to complete our staircase down to the water where the boat will dock in. So, as you can see, we've got a complete platform. However, this is a relatively small and compact build, and it's flexible design. So if you wanted something slightly bigger, just add another set of log pillars, or reduce them if you want something even smaller to work with. So what we're going to do now is add some fences on top of the pillars on the front side. This is where a small, and I mean small, balcony is going to go, and it's quite an important feature of this build, so don't forget to do it. Once you've done that, you then need to place the walls of the actual hut itself, making sure you're 1 block in on every single side of your platform except where the balcony, where there will be 2 blocks. You want to go about 5 or 6 blocks high, and even more if you want 2 stories. The build that I'm making is only 1 story high. So this is what it should look like roughly at this stage, and we're now going to work on the roof, which is going to be slightly weird. I have added a block on the left because we're going to go up half a block up to that point, which we're then going to make our way down. However, instead of going half a block down every time all the way to the other side, you would end up with a very small build on one side, so that's no good. What we need to do is remove those, and instead of going half a block down, we go 2 half slabs down and then another 2 half slabs down, so it takes twice as long to do it. That gives us 2 sides of our roof which are different aspects. So this is what we're going to have to fill in all the way along, keeping that same 2 half slabs, and then on the other side keeping just 1 half slab where the balcony is. And then where the fences are, I've just added another little bit of slab to give it a bit of detail. Hopefully that made sense. You can see what I've made there. Hopefully it's not too confusing. Now over where the staircase is, I'm going to extend it a little bit further and add a few more fences there so that we've got this overhang just to give it a bit more shape. It accentuates that L shape that we've gone for, and I've added a few more fences to give the roof some support. You can see on the roof, and this is very important, that there is an overhang. And underneath, along the bottom of the platform, I've added loads of fence gates to connect up all of the fences supporting the roof. The benefit of which is that they won't connect to the wall, which would look odd, so it's a very nice detail. I've added in some windows, and we're going to detail those later. On such a small build, it can be a bit of a challenge. An optional detail would be to put a trapdoor at the top of each of our pillars. Another optional detail would be to add a furnace at one end of the build so that we can add a chimney that comes up through the house with some cobblestone wall and a cobblestone staircase at the top, and those two things help really bring in some contrast to this very dark coloured build. So let's go and do some more detailing on the outside before we tackle the inside. I'm going to add a few more windows, and I'm going to add some grass blocks surrounded with signs so that we can add some flowers in there later, giving this build some much needed colour. Another little change I want to make is along the bottom of the hut, just to change that one layer to jungle log. It just helps give it a little bit more colour change. Because we have got an incredibly brown build, we might as well have as much contrast as possible between those browns. I'm going to fill in all of those windows that we made earlier with some dark grey stained glass. You can obviously change it to whatever colour you want. You can even have brown if you want this build to be even more brown, or you can make it even colourful if you wanted to. I've added a bunch of spruce staircases around the build to give it a bit more depth. Seeing as this is a very small build, we need to try and add those very minute layers of depth wherever we can, and those fit in with this style of build. We're actually coming towards the end of this construction for this house. However, I do want to point out that in a minute I'm going to go over some optional extras that you can do to improve this further when you create a town of this style of house. Anyway, at the front we need to finish off working on the little dock area. Just adding a few more fences and some fence gates, we can seal off all the areas so that you don't accidentally walk off all the time. And I've added some little minor details such as a table, and on the inside it's just as standard survival: table, shelves, chests, crafting table, furnace, that kind of thing, even a painting to make it look a bit nicer in there and more homely. There's not an awful lot of space, but as a starter house, I think this is a pretty good place to begin. So once you've added some doors in, that's it. This is the lake house, the house on the water, house on stilts, whatever you want to call it. This is the complete product. This is the smallest version that I would recommend making, and you could remove parts depending on how many blocks you have available to you, or you could go block for block on this one. However, there's so much we can do with this style. It is an expensive starter house, and you do need a few different kinds of wood. You need the dark oak, you need the oak, and you need the spruce. But once you get all of those, that's pretty much the bulk of it done. So as a starter house, I feel it does work. However, we can take this one step further to make a village. So this is the complete village in exactly the same location as the original was made, and I literally replicated it 2 more times but rotated them around so that they all face inwards. There's a few more things to talk about for this build. I added certain features that made each house its own distinguished building. So this is the first one. This is the one that we've just gone over. There's not a lot else to say because you literally just watched me build this, but I did add a bunch of walkways to connect it up to the next house, which has a very slight alteration on it. You may be able to notice that I added just a very slight extension on the side. Now the problem with this is it's completely aesthetic. It serves very little purpose. It's just got another layer of stilts, a roof on the top that slides down, but there's only one block in there. You could probably add some chests in there, but that's about it. It's just to make it look a bit nicer, and it's important to make sure that each house is different to the others. To go into a little bit more detail about the walkways, there's always that 3-block gap between each pillar, but we did make a slight alteration. We changed the log underneath the water to be dark oak. That way it makes it look like it's actually soaked underneath the waterline compared to the normal oak, which is above the waterline. It's just one of those realistic details you can add. On that small bit of sand that was right by the house, I added a mining area where you can just literally go down into the underground, but I added just a very quick little roof over the top to make it look a bit more detailed and fun to look at rather than just having a hole in the ground. So if we make our way round to the last house, this is probably the most complicated one out of all of them and has the most added to it. We've actually got a second story, a little extension on the top. Now there isn't actually anything in there, I just did the exterior, but if you wanted to connect this up fairly easily, all you'd have to do is add a ladder that goes up and make sure that it's completely flat. It's not that difficult to add and is in exactly the same style as the rest of the build. And there's, like I said, a lot of flexibility in something like this, so there's loads of opportunities to extend it, make it bigger. Another thing that's different about this one is that it's got this really nice rounded window on the front instead of the flat faced of the other. It's obviously a bit of a different style, and all we did was added a bit more of a platform and a roof to compensate for the fact that it just extends out one block more. It's not a big deviation from the style, and it offers a lot to the look of the build. I think this is probably my favourite out of all of them, however it is the most complicated one to build. So as you can see, the roof obviously deviates from the other side, so they go in opposite directions. That's quite important on a build like this. Anyway, that is the complete town. In fact, I don't know if anyone has the same opinion here. This almost looks like what a default Minecraft village in vanilla should look like if it spawned on a water, in my opinion. So this could be in vanilla Minecraft if it were to be added. I would love that because there's not a lot of water content. If I came across something like that, I'd be really excited. Anyway, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. It means an awful lot if you've made it to the end of this video. And it would mean an awful lot to me as well if you left a comment down below giving me what you would like me to make next. Whether it's a small build or a large build, I would love to hear your ideas. So, thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!